Right now I'm with Aspec-Scire as a co-founder and also a company called Robots. Apart from a small company called Spark, which does proprietary designs and products. Aspec-Scire, Vijay, the name comes from Latin, which means elevated viewing. And primarily we are into drone data analytics. So we fly drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, collect data, and then we use that data for photogrammetry and a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data science based algorithms to provide intelligence and solve business problems to our customers. Specifically to this problem that we are talking about, or a need, I wouldn't say a problem, a need, is that a lot of our customers, before we started this company, there was an inherent need in the construction space to streamline the flow. So demonetization was one aspect. The global markets, the crude oil prices, everything had a hit in the $3 trillion construction industry. So there was an inherent need on relooking at the way infrastructure and construction was being done. So we basically sat down and thought, how can we use data science related approach, machine learning, artificial intelligence, tensor flows, cloud infrastructures, all these put together to solve business needs of our customers. So that is how the inception of Aspec-Scire happened. We built a platform called Vimana, which I would show in a bit. But first, what I thought was, since this problem statement was actually shared, and I believe we have not solved the problem in the best way, though we've been able to work out on a lot of business cases. So what I'll do is I will quickly talk about Aspec-Scire and what we do from a business solution standpoint and how we bring in technology to solve a business need. I will share my screen. So this is basically a company. What we do is we use drone data, capture images, and create a digital twin of anything and everything that is needed. The business areas that we are in is multiple. So though we started with construction and the problem statement that we gave was primarily related to construction, but we are right now in agriculture. All what you see here is all live projects which we have done for customers. So agriculture is basically tree mapping and tree growth and health monitoring of trees in Ladakh. That's one project that we have done. Thermal analytics, stockpile monitoring. There are a lot of these industries where they pile stocks, which is wood and affiliated inflammable substances. How are those actually captured, and when will they catch fire? All these analytics is something which we do. I will also turn off my video because it says unstable connection to get better bandwidth. Please excuse me for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then we have construction management here. Construction management is typically there are buildings which are being constructed. How is the progress monitoring? Both of you spoke about progress monitoring. That's an aspect. Campus mapping and survey. Big campuses which have existing boundaries and they want to grow, buy land nearby and grow their campuses. So what are the security measures? How do we do remote monitoring of it? That was another aspect that you brought about. How can we sit in New York and monitor something that is happening in India? All those aspects can be done. Solar, renewable energy. How do we create solar farms? Using machine learning algorithms is something which we have done. Infrastructure, road building, dams, facade inspections that you see, which is basically chimneys or tall structures where we can't reach. If you think of a cell phone tower, it is 100 meters tall. It's humanly impossible to go and figure out how to identify any problems in those telephone towers on the top, right? Bird nest, cracks, leakages, fuselage leakages, stress on stress. All these aspects is something which we do. And then mining and quarry. Government allots a land for mining ferrous iron components out of it. How is the cover? Where can we mine all these? These are all typical business cases that we solve using data science technology, mapping through drones. So that is how we do. Our vision basically help our customers increase their revenue, give them better quality and transparent management using cloud processing, machine learning, and digital twin creations. So how do we do that? We have a platform which we have named as Vimana, which is basically having a deep learning, machine learning algorithm. What we have done is month on month, we've got so many customers now that our data has substantially increased month on month. I would probably just, there are a lot of examples which we have live examples, but I would show one in the platform and one in the website. So this, which would make sense, is infrastructure intelligence. So let us look at a problem where we have in India now a lot of infrastructure activities happening, in the sense that all 2 lanes are becoming 4 lanes, all 4 lanes are becoming 6 lanes, right? So if you're an infrastructure company like Larsen and Toubro or Ashoka Buildcon or any one of those Shapoorji Pallonji, you are into the business of constructing roads. The government has given you an option that, or given you a mandate how to construct 1 kilometer per day. How do you actually ensure one, you do 1 kilometer per day, and if you can actually do more kilometers per day, then you are actually making the company generate more revenue because they are covering greater than what has been requested by their customer. Anybody has got a question? Okay, so what we do here in this case is we fly a drone and we capture what is the current situation of the land from a road standpoint, right? So imagine a road which has got 2 lanes. We fly and it's 40 kilometers long, basically between Hyderabad and Secunderabad. You fly a drone along the road, which is on the center line of the road, and capture images, both 90 degrees to the ground and also peripheral images, oblique images. Once the data is captured, how we help technology build on top of this business cases. If the 2 lane has to be widened to a 6 lane, what is the first thing that the people need to do? They need to figure what is the land adjacent to this 2 lane, correct? So that our drones will capture and our platform will show them. Not much intelligence required. But then in this land, they will have to acquire this land. Suppose there is a hutment, there are some encroachments there. Now that intelligence would be provided, saying that the person has to clear those encroachments. Second aspect is, what if there are plantations, there are mango tree plantations, there are any other normal plantations that are present. The person will have to figure out what kind of plantations are these and how do you price these plantations if you want to buy it from a farmer, right? That is where our intelligence comes. So our platform will accurately capture images, convert those images to meaningful data, saying that for the stretch, you have a 40-kilometer stretch between Hyderabad and Secunderabad. For the stretch between the 7th kilometer and the 12th kilometer, which is 5 kilometers in length, on the left side, you have a plantation. The plantation has got mango trees in it, and these mango trees will typically have this economic value to it, which means now the customer exactly knows that he has to buy so many square kilometers of land between the 5th and the 12th milestone, and what is his approximate cost of acquisition. This is pure intelligence that we provide using data science. What is the data science that we used here? We used those aspects of images which qualify, number one, what kind of terrain it is, whether it is a hill or whether it is a flat slope. On that, what kind of assets are there? Assets means objects. Objects here, we said those are mango trees, which means our machine learning algorithm typically figured out that these are all the mango trees, these are all the varieties of trees that can be mangoes. And that is how it automatically identified that between the 5th kilometer and the 12th kilometer, we have so many mango trees. And then we also translated that to an economic value. Assuming these mango trees currently are at this elevation, they have grown to about 20 meters in height. We give that information also to our customers. This helps them take very quick decisions for speeding up their projects. Any questions till now? Mohit, go ahead.
Sir, this one was basically like saying the pricing of mango tree or like the roads infrastructure. Basically, data science depend on data, historical data set. So
Correct.
as a startup, how you got this these drones, or these are basically new thing like 3 or 4 years old. It's not like
Fantastic.
you have a lot of data to predict things basically. But other like they're adding land, we can also do one thing like government has like basically digitize this lands nowadays. We can like somehow integrate this with if like our the project then we doesn't need drones for this. They are basically we automatically get this data on our reports.
So the first question I'll answer saying that it's very difficult to make it learn because you need data. Datas are available for sale. So we can actually go and purchase. There are a lot of people who sell data these days saying, I need plantation data, and they provide all the specific plantations, and these are typically measured in terabytes. So that's how typically we make it learn. Or what we do is we fly drones, and we ourselves over the weekend we fly, and if this project needed plantation data, we go and fly ourselves. We capture those images, feed it to our ML algorithms, and make it understand and improve the accuracy level with time that these are typical plantations with these kinds of trees. Your second question was that government already has certain lands that are allocated for these projects, is it?
Yeah, the government has also like digitized this whole records so that basically maximum states. So like using drone to identify the same thing like duplication or like repetition of the same thing. Like is
Fantastic question. So how has government digitized these lands? The only answer there is Google Earth. Now, if you talk about Google Earth, how does it get data? So there is a satellite which is flying in the ionosphere, right? Which is possibly 50, 60 kilometers from the terra firma. That is the surface of the land. Now, the details that it provides will not be as critical and clear for decision making as what a drone would provide. Suppose Shapurji, Palonji, or L&T, Lazar and Tubro want to buy 10 square kilometers of land. A Google Earth or the government current digital data will provide that, okay, this is how the 10 square kilometer of land looks like. But what is exactly in that 10 square kilometer? Is there a water body? How big is the water body? Is there a gradient? Gradient is very, very important because if you are actually driving down a hill and if your design speed of a highway is 120 kilometers per hour, then the land has to be pretty much flattened out to a, there is a calculation for it, to a degree that it cannot be too slopey. So leveling is also a cost. You need to bring JCBs and diggers to level it. So all these more granular parameters can be provided using a drone. Does that answer your question?
yeah, another question regarding that like using a drone, like drone itself like costly technology. Like if when someone use like for a kilometer, it's not to fly like 2 times. If you add some meter like a 1 kilometer done or not in one day, but we need also like a human resource also for drawing a like a drone also. Also there are some like government regulation also nowadays for drones. So it's not becoming too costly at the last like for checking by drones or taking an imagery. Also, like imagery also will come with a cost. Like we have to push in clouds and clouds after we need a processing power. There must be like somehow like another way to like do this thing without using drones.
Fantastic.
If we have like tons of drones, then can be easily. Maybe some company doing one project in like in north, another in the south. So we need two different drones for monitoring these things.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is an operational issue which exists in the field, but we can easily handle it. The cost aspect that you spoke about is 50% of what is the alternative. So suppose if Larsen and Toubro has to level that land, or if it has to find out what is there in the perimeter, right, that we are talking about, the current method that they employ is they have a surveyor. They have a land surveyor who uses a total station. So people who have come from civil engineering background, you'll be aware that there's something called as a theodolite, and there is a prism in it. And if you're driving in the highways, you can find two people, one guy holding a stick standing far away and another guy looking through a telescope or something, right? So that is how they currently do this whole activity from an infrastructure standpoint. For a 40-kilometer stretch, that will take about 3 to 4 people working for about 7 to 8 days for the 40-kilometer stretch. With a drone, what we do is we do the operations in one day. So up to about 100-kilometer stretch can be covered in one day, and one person to do this. Economics of scale that comes here. The second part is processing. After the 8 days, the current surveyors take, they'll have to go to their office and they'll have to manually chalk these points and provide maps out of it using any of the existing software. That takes another 5 to 6 days. But with this, when you have a cloud process, the whole process of data capture and data processing will be done for 40 kilometers in like 2.5 3 days. So from a business standpoint, this company stands to gain, isn't it? Both from an operations and from a decision-making standpoint. That's a question.
Yeah, the way you tell, like, it looks like very simple. Like, and this thing Lasso also can do in their own self also. Like, there must be some reason regarding they are not doing their own self. Like, there are some risk linked with this, like, with drones or this thing. Why there's also being companies not using these things on their own, or they're
I
like,
think, yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before everybody starts using it. If you see the US or something, they've started using drones for deliveries. In India, for during the COVID times, a lot of companies came up and they're delivering vaccines through drones. So those are drone operations. Big companies will have to actually see if they have a huge project pipeline, they might invest in drones and they might do the drone operations, but still drone image processing cannot be done by everybody. So you're right, drone operations can be done by anybody. I mean, L&T can basically spend some money, buy 20 drones, 30 drones and put people and do it. But what will they do with the images? The processing needs intelligence and software, right? That cannot be built overnight. And that needs learning, that needs a lot of training and data science behind it. So that is where we come into the picture with our USP.
Anand, I think you have a platform to demonstrate. We are all keen to see the platform. So why
Sure.
don't you proceed with that, and we'll come back to questions in the end again.
Done. So in this one, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are a lot of projects which we have done, like these are some Ladakh area projects. What you see here, right? Cell phone tower inspections, facade inspections. Yeah, somebody had a question? Okay. So what we will do here is I will talk about a campus expansion project. So now in this campus expansion, there is this company which is a pharmaceutical company, and they have this piece of land that they're currently producing drugs and medicines. And they have this piece of land close to them where they want to expand their campus. Now they came to us and said that, see, you know what, I will give you a CAD diagram of how we are going to build the campus here. Can you do something about it? So this is the CAD drawing that they provided. You can see the platform, right?
Anand,
So wherever you...
Sorry, sir, it is not shared. It is not
visible. We can see what you're trying to show us. We are still on the infrastructure intelligence slide.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. Wait, I'll stop and share once again.
Please.
Sometimes I have these Internet issues, but you can hear me, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yeah. Now I think we can see what you're talking about.
Okay, sorry about that. So I'll start again. So if you, I'll go back to our, so this is a platform. When we launch the platform, we can see all the projects that we have done. So here we are going to talk about one project specifically with respect to construction infrastructure and expansion, right? So this client wanted to actually, this client is in the business of making pharmaceutical medicines, and they have this plant that does all these. So it's got all the auxiliary units, fire hydrant layouts, car parks, corporate blocks, and the manufacturing facility here. So this facility wanted to actually expand. Obviously, during COVID, I think pharmaceutical companies were doing pretty well. So they came to us and said, I want to expand this. I bought this piece of land. How can we actually plan and make sure that we complete this project in record time? All that we had to start with was a CAD diagram. So if you see, our platform consumes CAD drawings. We took the CAD drawing and we placed it, and on the boundary we flew the drone and we brought the orthomosaic image. Orthomosaic is basically again a data science where we, for this area of land, we would have captured about 5,000 images to 6,000 images, and we stitched them together. There is some bit of data science involved here because it works in the way like the eye sees it. The depth has to be proper. And what you see here is typically called as an orthomosaic, which means every point is at 90 degrees that you see. When you are at 90 degrees, when you're at 90 degrees viewpoint, then all your measurements are accurate. That is a whole geometry theorem behind this. So the first thing that we said is, see, we can actually overlay your CAD and show where you can probably, where are your probable sites that needs build up. So there are certain areas where the existing facility will need remodeling, and all these areas is pure new land where they will build their capacity. When this capacity comes, what is the next step? You would need excavation. So you need JCBs and all these bobcats which need to come and start digging ground. So we have a measurement tool. You can still see my screen, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
keep asking this because internet connection unstable is coming in my desktop. So I'll just keep asking this question once in a while. Sorry about that. So when we have to build a structure like this, new facilities, we'll have to excavate land. And when we excavate land, there is cost involved in it because the volume of land that we dig up, we'll either have to pile it in the same area that we have, or we'll have to put them in dump trucks and we'll have to dump them somewhere else. So this is something which we have a tool where people can easily figure out how to calculate what exactly is the land that they need to excavate. So if you see here, if I draw this, it says that this is my average elevation, 201 feet. And if I want to dig 10 feet, I can calculate the volume and they can exactly know that before I start the work, this is what my cut fill is going to be, around 7 lakh meter cube. And typically they pay per meter cube of land that is excavated. So they can start calculating all their budgets and costs for land excavation. Now, apart from land excavation, they also wanted to know how much elevation is there in these. So all these maps are typical elevations that we derive from our software. What is at 200 feet? What is at 300 feet? What is at 180 feet? All these would give, so they'll know that which is the area that they need to level. On top of it, we also provide analytics where we basically have the whole machine learning algorithm which maps what are the assets or objects that are there. So for example, you can see here, there is a river that is going by, right? So we had image machine learning algorithms which figure out what kind of river it is and what are the typical things that need to be present to have a river that is flowing, and that maps the river. There is something called as You can see these red lines, right? Which is basically the buildings. So you can toggle these in the platform. To the extent that we also have EV parkings. So if there is an electric vehicle parking that you see here, if I zoom in, we also have our algorithms intelligent enough to start figuring out EV parkings, which can be reused, which cannot be reused, etc. Handicap parkings is the other one, which we can figure out. So all these are typically done automatically by the software the moment drone captures the image and uploads into our platform. The other aspect to it is a split view. This helps the customer actually figure out different views in the same pan. So I know how my lay of the land looks like, and if I want to basically compare it with analytics, I can actually run this whole planimetric map side by side to see how both of them look like. I can zoom in, all these are typically the platform functionalities that we have developed for this project. Given another feature called profiling. Profiling is very important for construction or infrastructure. For example, the road project that I said, if I basically draw a straight line between 2 points, it will basically show me how my profile looks like between these two. So you can see here, right, the whole graph. So at this point, it is 200 meters. At this point, there is something called 300 meters. But what is this 300 meters? There is a building that comes here in between, or there is a lamp post that comes in here. So this profile is also important for us to figure out where exactly from an aerial standpoint or at the ground reality, we need some work that needs to be done. At this point, there is something which goes down. So the road level is slightly below the land level here. So all these profiling aspects is also done using data science on photogrammetry. There are a few other things which we also have, like the 3D point cloud. So whatever points that are created, we generate a 3D point cloud, which the customer can actually zoom in and see how exactly the facility looks like. This is slightly more process intensive, so it might take a little bit of time to come up. But given a good laptop configuration, this cloud will basically show how the land, as you can see, all these small hillocks and all here, right, behind the facility. So all these are certain aspects which is inherently built in the system. Depending on the customer needs, we also have certain other aspects which we provide to them called perspectives or site walkthroughs. Site walkthroughs, if you see on the panel below on the left side, so this is the whole area that you see, the gray area that you see in the map location. You can point at different locations in this area, in this boundary, and figure out how the site looks like. These are also created using singular images at that point, and then we stitch them back to a latitude, longitude on the platform. So these are all different features which we make available to our customers. And the last feature which we typically help with is something called as marking issues. Suppose, like you said, there is security process which is very, very important, right? And there is a possibility of somebody coming here and creating a perimeter breach, which means somebody can also enter this facility from here. Then we can actually create security breach point and send it to people who have access to this platform, which can be typically the directors, operations of managers, or even the site managers, and they will get this issue and they can figure out what needs to be done here and they can take preventive action on it. So this is one of the projects that we have done with respect to campus mapping. I would stop here. If you want, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, you can reach out. If you have any other specific use cases that you want to discuss, we can discuss that also.
Sir, you have said that security breach. You will continuously monitor the site, sir.
These are typically drones are flown at a point in time, right? So this would identify vulnerabilities. Where are those areas where incursions and intrusions can happen? We can also do the same thing against a CCTV footage. So what you are talking about, if you want continuous monitoring, is video footage. So this platform can also work on live video streams to figure out any anomalies.
Sir, meanwhile, you have said that you will just replicate the previous plant and will do the same to extension. I mean to say in extensions. Can this platform can do design of new plant also?
Yeah. So design of new plant. There is this example where I will show you, right? So this, what happens is, if you see the bottom part, we have flown the drones. These are all flight plans that we created from March 2018 till July 2020. So for the same site, if I go on March 9th, this is how the site was, right? Now the construction people wanted to know how it is progressing over a period in time. So this is how the ground zero was. And if I say how the site looks at in June 2020, or let us say even if in sometime in 2019, we can actually look at those aspects quite clearly using this platform. I can compare a time series, 2 dates. With the drawings, how it comes. All these aspects can be built. So this was a rooftop geometry to make sure that as the construction is coming up, they wanted to place solar panels to become a green building, right? So they had to ensure that the area that has been earmarked, so we can actually measure these areas to say that how these areas are actually created, have the exact amount of solar panels that can be put. When I look at the last date, when the date of the final flight, you can see all these solar panels which are put in, right? So all typically the way solar works is, depending on the area, they generate a kilowatt or a megawatt, X kilowatts or X megawatt of electricity. We can also ascertain using drone-based photogrammetry and image analytics on, are people generating the right amount of electricity that is needed as well. So you can see the amount of business problems which we are solving, right, with just data science as the engine that is running using machine learning.
Anand, there are 2 questions coming in on chat. The first question is from Sebi Varghese. So she's asking, all these features that you're showing, are they part of the package or are they specifically for a certain project requirement?
Nice. So what happens, Sebi, is we are a startup, right? So we take it project by project, but then we work on open source. So as something, as a business requirement comes for a new project, we develop that and that is available for other projects as well. And it becomes a part of the package. Did I answer your question? Thanks.
And you have one more interesting question from Anubrat. He's asking, how do you map a water body?
Okay, so there's another complete engineering method called bathymetrics. So like I showed you the water body from a top view standpoint, we can figure out whether it is a river or a lake or any of the small shallow ponds also, right? But when you talk about mapping a water body, if you want to exactly find out, you're flying something over a dam, right? And then what is the perimeter of the dam, that we can find out. But what is the volume of water in the dam, that can be ascertained only when we know what is the ground level. So the normal photo cameras that we have, which is the RGB cameras, which works in the visual spectrum, cannot penetrate through the water because water has got high reflectance. So what we use is, we use something called as NIR, near infrared, or LIDAR, LIDAR, which is basically laser induced photogrammetry, which can go across surfaces to the bottom and come back. But flying a drone 50 meters above water level will still have accuracy issues. So there is something else called as putting a boat, and just like the drone flies in the air, the boat will typically go in a pattern in the water, and they use sonar for bathymetrics. So that is the method that we use for mapping water bodies. Anubrat, did they answer your question? Cool.
All right,
Yeah,
so,
Aman.
Yes, sir. I want to ask that all this learning is done specifically by your company, or like this software is readily available in the market for every data science company?
It's pure, the whole IP is held by our company, Aman, and that is our existence. So our business is on this IP. It is not open source. There are few open sources available, but they are not as good and accurate enough as what we are developing.
Okay, sir. And how much time does it take to for the software to learn all this?
For about attaining anywhere between 50% accuracy, right? Up
Yes,
to
sir.
50%
Yes,
accuracy, I would say if you have about 1 to 2 terabytes of data, it will take 4 days, 3 to 4 days. If you want anything between 50 to 80% accuracy, it will take about a week. And if you want touching close to 90%, 92%, nobody has achieved more than 92% because the world is always evolving and change is always constant. So above 90%, if we want to achieve, it will take about 10 days, the same data set.
Sir, and one last question. Do your company also help like a government organization to help mitigate the disaster relief?
Disaster as in, can you give an example?
So yesterday there was a report that all the coastlines of India is slowly eroding. So government is like looking for the data so that they can help the coastal lines to prevent this erosion, sir. So does your company help in such scenario?
Of course. Definitely, photogrammetry and whatever we discussed now will in capturing the amount of land that is eroding, the volume of land, and provide all analytics that is needed for this use case that you said. But if your question is specifically, are we working with the government on this project? No, we are not working with them currently.
So for example, in the past 5 years, if you take, your land is already been eroded. So now, for example, if your company starts as of now, so they will not have any historical data. So will it not affect the accuracy?
True, but if it starts now, from today, if we start gathering data, then our accuracy will improve on the 10th day.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, are this software based on the Google Map? Like you use like layering of Google Map and put this artificial intelligence on the Google Map, like drones imagery on the Google Maps.
See, Google Map, right?
Like
There's a
API, and
problem.
this can basically APIs.
Yeah, see, there's a problem with Google Map. So we are going to do from June 1st to June I'll show you, right? I see questions in chat. I'll come back to it. The problem with Google Map, right? Like I said, is accuracy level. So this is the Indus River, okay, that you see that's flowing. And this is a boundary that we have created for a project. Now, if I actually try to overlay Google Map on top of it, the granularity of data that I get is very minimal. I'm not able to provide how many trees are going to be planted here, what is the health of those trees, what is the elevation of those trees, how are they going month on month or year on year. That will never come from a Google Map scenario. This is a satellite view. A drone would fly at a closer altitude of these trees, and we can get better accuracy levels for our customers, and the decision making, the cost, the revenues will be much better, right? If you are able to have accurate data points. So that is where we come in. Google is something called as satellite data that goes into QGIS, geographical information systems, for a high level viewpoint. But if you really want to get clarity in your project, progress monitoring, the security aspects, Google Earth will currently not be sufficient unless there are certain other APIs that they have developed which have closer granularity.
Also, there are other countries, they are like private like satellite system exists. Like they have more like a detail on this thing. Like in future, can you think you're thinking like launching their own like parting with some private company to like for a satellite view kind of view, right? It's like if you want to like in a outside India, then like using drones or using a satellite is it easiest thing. Like satellite also give a better viewpoint. Basically, in Haryana, basically I live in Haryana. We got a like our home point of view basically from satellite. It basically show like a clear picture to us, like from a satellite point of view also. Like like in future, can you like shifting from drones to satellites, basically like private satellite, and just asking about like in the lower latitude area, like
Satellites typically are in above the ionosphere, right?
yeah,
So you will always be at 80, 100 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. So for high level applications where you want to go from point A to point B, that is okay. I don't think there is a problem. But here we're talking about how do you increase, if you're growing capsicum, right? How do you increase the yield of capsicum? That is one project which we are doing. If you are having stockpiles here, which is of mulch, which is basically wood, how do you ensure that the mulch doesn't catch fire, sorry. All these things, it's going to be extremely difficult using satellites as of now. Maybe it develops over a period in time, but not currently. See,
like your system also works on like in a high altitude, or like in like if you are in sea, like in some islands or this thing, like you have to develop some project on island also. So
of
it's
course.
going to not going to affect by like there's some.
Not at all. So one of the examples I showed you, that Chushul was in Ladakh, right, where the Indus River is flowing. So Ladakh is 15,000 feet above sea level. So we work there also, not at all. This is a thermal camera, right? So here I know that this thing is going to catch fire, what you see on my right screen, right? So I can actually say that, okay, whatever is here is somewhere here, which means somebody has to go here and start putting fire extinguishers here. It's becoming pretty hot here, right? I can put a temperature band and figure out what are my areas of issues that I can work on. So this kind of analytics, a satellite currently is unable to provide.
Yeah, that's like the way you're saying, like this idea required a lot of time to develop. Like how much time you have taken to like develop this idea? Basically, like too much data, like too much integration of things like artificial intelligence at that level, basically.
So I would say it has organically grown over a period in time, right? So the first business problem came in, and we did it in probably 2 months to 3 months, and use that for solving other business problems hunting for new customers. And as new customers came in, new business problems came in, we added 2-3 months, 2-3 months. And now we have a lot of things ready in the shelf. So if a new problem comes in from a new customer, we can immediately reuse what we have built. So I would say it was organically grown.
So Anand, just to move on to a couple of other questions from chat, we have a question from Vijeta, who's asking basically, are the algorithms itself updated if you get different inputs coming in? Or is the algorithm constant and it evolves with what's happening?
Yeah, fantastic question. So we create something called a model, Vijeta. So model is sitting on top of data. The data, like you said, can keep changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens
so that's
is,
what as the data changes, like does the algorithm fix it itself, or do you like keep changing as you see the pictures?
no, the algorithm keeps changing. It will be adaptable.
Okay.
If there is a new variety of mango tree that comes in, and if you feed that, then the algorithm will teach itself that this is another new variety of mango tree, add it to the module and the model where we classified trees, and in trees we classified mango trees. So it will automatically add it to the model.
Okay.
So sir, it's based on a neural network. Like you are saying, self-teaching. It's basically a neural network. Like how artificial cars, like self-driven cars, are working.
Yes, it's a big name, but yeah, we use TensorFlow and Python for doing that. Correct.
All right. So a couple of other questions, Anand, from the chat. So one question coming in from Harsha is, your software is more like SaaS. At least you will give ready report to customers.
Of course, yes. All these will have, the outputs would primarily be maps and reports. And like you asked, it can also tell if it is a flood prone area based on the elevation. So I had shown you one map where we had elevations, right? So if it is below 200 feet or 300 feet, you know that it is a low area, and when there is water inflow, it will inundate.
Sir, for example, recently Chennai got floods. So before, if that apartments has given to you this project before building, so can you able to tell it's a flood prone area after 5 years?
Of course, I mean, not even 5 years. So there is, so what happens, right, Harsha, there is something called as contours that every, any place on earth, right, we have contours, which is basically how high are we with respect to mean sea level and how low are we with respect to mean sea level, right? Now, this is very, very important. These contours are very, very important for us to understand how water would get in and out in these areas. So this elevation map that we are talking about, right, will precisely help us identify what are my low-lying areas. This is a 40-kilometer road. Invariably, most of the road is 500 meters, but if there are patches which are less than 400 meters, then you know that those areas will have inundations, water flooding possibilities. So contours are very important methods to catch this.
One more thing, sir. So suppose the project is given and they ask you to like in 15 days. So you will let them participate in the 15 days contact, like day-to-day report, or you will just give after 15 days, this is my analysis, my report, like that. How we will do, sir?
We will have constant engagement with them. So weekly once at least we will have a meeting with their team, if not weekly twice.
Okay.
All right, Anand, it's 8 o'clock now. If it's okay with you, shall we take one or two last questions?
Yes, please.
So there's one question from Sebi Varghese. Sebi, would you like to state what your question is?
Like I wanted to ask, like the process which you do, are you answering specific questions or are you suggesting some new insights from the data analysis as well?
So our business is data analysis and giving solutions to business needs. So we will not, so we are not a typical company which provides reports and closes the matter there, but we work with our customers and clients to solve something for them, giving intelligence.
Okay.
So Anand, I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Since our students are all looking for better career opportunities in data science, and I know you are quite involved in hiring a lot of data science professionals. So what kind of skills or personality traits do you look for when hiring data science professionals?
I think the first and foremost, Vijay, I mean, we have worked together, you know this more than me, is I think the attitude is very, very important, because what I felt is the curiosity is a very, very important ingredient. How does this work? Why does it work this way? What will happen if I do something like this? Why should it not be like this? How does the other person do it? Where and all have I seen this? Can I use this somewhere else? That curiosity is very, very critical, especially in data science. I'll tell you why, right? For a normal person, a picture is a picture, isn't it? So the person basically sees a mango tree as a mango tree. But for a curious person, a person a mango tree and says, are there any pests in it? What kind of pests come in it? What is the girth of the tree? Can I say if it is so thick, then it has lived for 10 years? That is absolutely critical in data science, because connecting the dots becomes super critical in data science. Yeah, for a programmer, a picture is actually a pixel. You're right. Each pixel has to be analyzed, figured how can we connect the dots. From tree, can we connect it to a solar panel? From a solar panel, can I connect it to a inspection tower, a cell phone tower? I think curiosity is very, very key for data science, Vijay.
Very nice. In fact, good to see in this last 1 hour, Anand, not only you gave a really impressive demo of your product. In fact, I'm curious to know more about Vimana, which I'll talk to you separately. But I think it's really nice to see a startup achieve so much. And I know you started from scratch along with Krishna and all the others. So, a lot of kudos to all of you. So I'm also very glad to see a lot of questions coming in from several participants in the cohort. So this also shows the inquisitiveness and curiosity among the students, and I'm sure there could be some follow-up questions. Okay, so with that, Anand, I asked your time till 8 o'clock, and I would like to wind it up around now. And a really hearty thanks to come and talk to our students. And it's very likely maybe after a few months I may come back to you for another show. And by the way, Anand did a similar presentation in IISc Bangalore just a couple of months back, which was also very well received. And Anand, thanks again for your time and a wonderful presentation and patiently taking all the questions from all the students over here. So thank you
so much. You've been a lovely audience and a patient audience. Thank you so much, Vijay.
Thank you so much. And thanks, friends. So that's the end of Odin Talks for today. And thank you, Anand. Okay.